told during a training session to offer, quote, opposing views about the Holocaust. In audio obtained by NBC News, the district's executive director of curriculum asked teachers to pair books about the Holocaust with other, quote, perspectives. That absurdity coming as the DOJ investigates a despicable surge in threats sent to school teachers and administrators from coast to coast. One Florida school board member who has had it, making waves for calling out harassment she has faced for supporting science.
I don't reject people coming here and speaking their voice. They do it all the time. We don't stop them from doing that. I don't reject them standing outside my home. I reject them following me around in a car, following my car around. I reject them saying that they're coming for me, that I need to beg for mercy. I reject that when they are using their First Amendment rights on public property, they're also going behind my home and brandishing their weapons to my neighbors, that they're making false DCF claims against me to my daughter, that I have to take a DCF investigator to her play date to go underneath her clothing and check for burn marks. That's what I'm against, which is a credible threat and calculated.
Joining me now, Brevard County School Board member Jennifer Jenkins. Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us. Watching all of that, I think the question most people have is like, what was the moment where you're like, enough? I can't stand by and let these people continue to harass me. I have to speak out and say something.
I decided on that school board meeting where I spoke out that video that went viral. Honestly, not on my own free will. I kind of fell back into a corner. My fellow board members had proposed a resolution from the Florida School Board Association that was written essentially to denounce the Biden administration, asking the federal government and federal law enforcement agencies to get involved in these terrorism and forms of harassment and threats. And so I felt pressured to explain to the public why a resolution on paper, out of context, one that many people would assume that I should be supporting, is one that I couldn't support.
You know, I was moved by much of your testimony there, and I think part of it is that I too am a mom. I have a daughter who is also about 5 years old. Your daughter just entering kindergarten. I know what this harassment has meant for you. You talked about it a lot there. What has it meant for her?
You know, she's not really impacted by it tremendously, at least. You know, I don't think so. There was a moment where she went outside and followed me as I was greeting the last protest that was outside of my home. I've been instructed by law enforcement officers to go outside to film them, just to document who is there and why they're there. And when she came outside, she asked to do some chalk and bubbles, and I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna tell my kid that we've got to go inside because some people think it's okay to intimidate me and intimidate my family. So we put some music on, we sat outside, we did some chalk and bubbles, and she asked me, Mommy, why are you still being so kind to these people? It ended up being a really amazing learning moment, I felt like. I just let her know, you know, sometimes people are not very kind and you just have to show them kindness. You know, I do have to say, you know, at least twice a week, she will tell me while I'm reading stories for bedtime, or she'll ask me, you know, Mommy, are those mean people still outside? She doesn't seem impacted by it, but it absolutely impacts me as a mother.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot even imagine. And part of what is so confusing is this has been a moving target, right? Back in April, there were people outside of your home because of provisions for LGBTQ students. Now it is over COVID mandates. What does it tell you that the debate, the contours of the debate keep shifting?
I'll try my best to answer that as quickly as possible. I have a lot of opinions. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for me. You know, I'm a young, strong, intelligent female, and I do question sometimes if the same amount of vitriol would be happening towards a man or somebody who is registered to another political party. My opponent I beat here in a very Republican district went off to start an organization that made it very clear from the very, very beginning that their disdain for me as a person and their disdain for the things that I believe are the narrative that they're going to carry throughout the county, eventually the state, and now, unfortunately, across the nation. You know, they claim to be an organization of parents who are coming to the table with solutions to problems. And I argue that they're an organization that look for problems, create problems, and they are just going to terrorize and harass people and disrupt board business until things move in a direction that they are comfortable with and these ideals align with things that they align with.
I know this brings no comfort, but you are, of course, not alone in going through what you're going through. We're watching this happen all across the country in many cases in school boards where people are volunteers who just want to be of service and they are dealing with this. Do you feel that you have learned lessons throughout this process that are applicable to other school board members in other parts of the country?
Absolutely. You said a point that I think is really important for the public that's watching to understand is, the school board where I am has just as many constituents and voters as a state house representative. School board's different all across the nation. And so it's very political. It's very heated. And so I hadn't heard from anybody personally that was experiencing what I was experiencing until this video went viral and I had the opportunity to be on TV. I've had thousands of emails and messages and phone calls from people all over the country, in other countries, and quite a few of them are school board members that are serving right now, expressing to me that they are feeling the same amount of stress, the same amount of harassment. And so it brings me some peace to know that I'm not alone.
And yet it is absolutely terrifying. Jennifer Jenkins, thank you so much for your time. Next, kids back